Welcome back to week 24 of the UK Property Market Stat Show. If you are an estate agent, letting agent, or someone who is interested in the property market, then this show is for you. As I say most weeks, the British are obsessed with the property market. It is the second most interesting topic in the world, the first obviously being the weather. But the property market is something that we are all fascinated on, and we hang our hat on what's happening with the Nationwide, Halifax, the Land Registry. But I don't know if you're aware, ladies and gentlemen, the Land Registry is measuring sales from 7, 8, 9 months ago. The Halifax are measuring sales and the Nationwide from 2 or 3 months ago. We're looking at house prices. We're looking at transaction levels from last week. We have got some gold standard data, and that enables you, if you are really interested in these things, to get a march on everyone else by knowing what's happening to house prices, what's happening to transaction levels months and months in advance. My name is Chris Watkin, and each week I'm joined by a special guest. And this week, returning for the second time, is Steph Walker. She's co-founder and boss lady of the Agency UK. And what she doesn't know about a estate agency isn't worth knowing. Welcome back, Steph. Great to have you back.
It's great to be here.
Bless you. You gave excellent value last time, so I immediately invited you back. I think it was a couple of months ago. You gave great insight. So for anyone that's not watched the show before, ladies and gentlemen, the show is about an hour's long, and it's split roughly in half, roughly. The first half looks at the UK property market, house prices, listings, price reductions, sales agreeds, fall-throughs, net sales and exchanges. And then the second half, we focus on a town or a city, and we really deep dive and really go to detail about how the different agents are performing. It's a bit like a Rightmove Plus report on steroids with a couple of rockets slung underneath. Now, this week it's on Amersham, which is northwest London. It's the posh part, commuter belt, home counties. But if you're not from Amersham, then please do watch the show, because we're going to be using a piece of kit. And I'm their biggest fanboy, although according to a couple of other people, there are other fanboys. But we've got the UK's fangirl of 20 EA Insights with us today, Steph. I know you're a massive fan of it. And the beautiful thing about this software is that it enables you independently to prove that you are a better estate agent. Because as an estate agent, you've got all those problems with overvaluing, cheap fees, and all things like that. Well, if you are as good as you think you are, and the numbers back it up, you can actually go to a vendor's house and show that you are the best estate agent, which means that you can counteract overvaluing and you can counter cheap fees. But more of that later. So, Steph, we're looking at week 24, which I'll just pull up the calendar of justice, is Monday the 10th of June all the way through to Sunday the 16th of June. So should we dive in and have a look at them Stellaroonies?
Let's do it.
Let's do it, babes. Here we go. So, ladies and gentlemen, as always, I'll just spend a minute or so just going through the numbers, and then we'll swing across to the wonderful Steph, and she'll give her insight. So this week, we listed 37,191 properties. And you should be able to see that on the screen now. Let's just check that, because we don't want to just, I've done that before where I've messed up and it was sharing something completely different. But so in terms of, as I said, the listings this week, 38,000, and the number of year to date is 852,029. And there is the stats themselves in terms of the number of properties coming on the market this week. It's not bad, is it?
Looking better. Thank God.
I mean, ladies and gentlemen, we're beginning to sound like a stuck record here, okay? The white line on the graph here is what is the this year's listings figures. The 2023 is the pink line, and then the other different colours, as you can see on the graph here, okay? There's this thing called Easter that comes and shocks us all every single year. And as you can see here, there's that dip down. And your different years, because Easter falls depending on where the sun and the moon are. And then we've got a dip there, which is May bank holiday, and the dip there is the second May bank holiday. And back we go. So it's nothing out of the ordinary here, is it? You know, I'm glad we're at the top end of the listings. It's like Goldilocks. We don't want too many. We don't want too much. Average asking price of the property coming on the market this week is £460,000. Any thoughts? Any more on this before we, or is it just boring and we just coming on quite nicely and don't worry about it?
Well, the listing prices there worry me ever so slightly because we do know what's going to happen, right? So we're going to have an election. We're going to have a little bit of movement on interest rates. And then that means we're going to see super competition from buyers because it's good to see the listings are up, but we're still playing catch up. We're still playing the catch up for the last 2 years. So I just worry ever so slightly if we're all being a little bit toppy with our pricing and we're going to come unstuck because we're then going to see this bit of a mini boom, I think, if we have a drop in interest rates because there's still not enough stock to feed the appetites of what we're playing catch up on. And then we're going to have a summer of down valuations, an autumn of down valuations, and we're kind of going to build some false pipelines. So yeah, it just makes me feel a little bit nervous.
Okay, so just so, ladies and gentlemen, just so you're aware, this is the graph that's on the screen now, shows the number of properties for sale. So we take this on the last day of every month, and this particular, so all the yellow lines are the 31st of May. So on the 31st of May, as we were going into the 1st of June, there were 694,000 properties that were on the market in the UK, and you can see every other May going back. So yeah, the number of properties presently for sale is up. Now, what is particularly interesting is I've just done some analysis, is that 1 in 12 of those properties, of those 69,000, which is about 53,000 of them, the homeowners have only been in the home since lockdown. I mean, I would expect, and I've done some analysis around the UK in about 100 different locations. And that number is much smaller in London. But as you go out to the home counties and the further flung fields, I mean, there's one city in the UK in the north, right at the top end, where over 1 in 5 houses, Steph, it's further north than you, because I know you're in the posh part of Liverpool, but 1 in 5 houses are currently on the market in that city. The homeowners have only been in since they bought since lockdown 1, which is big numbers. Big numbers. And it's classic. You don't want too many listings. You don't want too much stock. I mean, to give you an idea, and I quote this number a lot on the show, that number in 2008 in the spring was 1.4 million. So let's not get too worried about that. But at the same time, you're absolutely right there, Steph. It's all about the right level of stock. Now, interestingly, the number of withdrawals is what's keeping that down. Because, let's just bring it back to the number of listings. Hold on, here we go. 852,000, which is 8.7% further on than 23 and 7.7% on than the average of 17, 18 or 19. So there's a decent level of stock. We just don't want that to be too much. And is it your opinion, Steph, that we'll be getting a flurry of listings after?
I get the impression you're starting to see that now. So anecdotally, I can talk across 42 counties. But obviously we only deal with a very small number of clients at any one time. But I think you're feeling the activity awakening. But I do think that we will see more. I think it was SJ Taylor. I heard say the greatest thing on a podcast the other week in that how is an election won? It's won on a majority. So the majority of people are going to be really pleased with the outcome, right? And that buoyancy will bring people to market for sure. And especially if we all believe that there's going to be something happening on interest rates. So yeah, we kind of need to have serious conversations with our sellers who are in the market now to say competition is on its way and really get nailed down on prices. Because I also think that's why you're seeing withdrawals happen. And I get a feeling there's slightly more withdrawals happening within the market. And I think that's because, again, people have been promised these prices. These prices aren't happening because the competition hasn't been there. And they're sort of falling away. So yeah, interesting.
Okay, just fill for a second and I'll just pull up. I'm not going to share the screen for a second, but let me just pull up what the number of withdrawals, just to give you an idea since, well 2 seconds. So just hold, here we go. So since January, we know there has been, and we'll just pull that back. Hold on a second. Here we go. There have been 852,000 new instructions. But hold on, this is because I think I remember seeing this, but I need to refresh my memory on it. Hold on. Do you know? I don't think we're professional. Done this before. Got it. Okay. Right. Here we go. 303,124 withdrawals. Now, of course, some of those are relisted with other agents, but when you consider that, normally, for every 8 houses that come on the market, 3 have been withdrawn. Those are big numbers, aren't they? Does that surprise you?
Yeah, it surprises me that it's that high. And God, you think as a seller, so for every 8 houses listed, if I'm one of those 8, there's a really good chance that I'm not going to sell or sell on this first cycle. And it's got to all be pricing. People are still talking about prices from 2 years ago when they absolutely shouldn't be. But again, what you don't want to create is this false ceiling. So if then there is lots of buyer competition because interest rates come down, that naturally is going to push at least asking prices and agreed sale prices up. It's not going to change the surveyor's opinion when they go around though.
I mean, to give you an idea, the same sort of level in May last year, remembering listings were lower, but the number of withdrawals was in the late 200s.
Right.
So, there's always going to be withdrawals. It's just, it passes like a line. We think that's just a bit higher than normal. Anyway, that's listings. And again, ladies and gentlemen, do share your thoughts in the comments. If you think we're talking a load of rubbish, please do. We do particularly like constructive feedback. Okay, so this week we've reduced 23,889 of our properties, which, to give you an idea, means that as a country we are reducing 6.21 1 in 6.21 properties per month. So for every 6 properties you've got, you're reducing 1 a month. I'm not sure if that's enough. I mean, again, by the sounds of it, if we're getting all those withdrawals, they obviously came to the market for a reason. And again, overvaluing is a scourge of the industry. What's your thoughts on that?
There's a couple of ways that you can look at it. So if I was an estate agent, obviously I am one, but if I was an estate agent outside of my own organisation, I think I'd have to be seeing, am I in keeping with that? Am I talking about this number a lot? Because I think we're very guilty as an industry of talking about it amongst ourselves. And I actually sadly think there's only a very small proportion of us who even do that. But what we absolutely don't do is talk about it out there with the wider public. And actually, if naturally properties have been going to market a little bit higher, that has a knock-on effect on everything that comes to the market, because you're not going to be able to, I suppose, have those conversations with every seller if those outside influences are happening. So even your own pricing may be a bit higher. But if you can then say, but look, we had a bit more of an honest conversation, but I let you go on at your price. Let me tell you what's happening across the UK. You're not the only person that's experiencing this. But absolutely, if we want to get sold, we need to fall in line with what's happening. I hope people feel confident to use stats like that to better your register of listings, because it's only going to hurt you if you don't.
I mean, interestingly, I've got some stats here. I'm not going to show it on the screen, but in the last year, the average UK estate agent has overvalued by 1.27%, which doesn't sound a lot. But I'm just going to flag up some of the top 10 estate agents here. And again, I will not mention their names because it's not appropriate for me to do so. But the biggest estate agent is overvalued by 1.99, 1.9, 1.74. A large London estate agent, 3.23. Another large London agent, 2.95. But when you're dealing with a property that is £500,000, that is a lot of money. And it's all about price sensitive. And I know, ladies and gentlemen, you've got to have it on the market to sell it. I know you've got to do that, but you owe it to yourself. And I think it's interesting. I was having a conversation on the sofa yesterday with the wonderful Simon Gates, which I know you're a big fan of, and I am too. And I think we come down to we just hate to lose the listing. We hate our competition. Hate's a strong word. And we will do everything in our power to make sure that they don't get it. And we've looked in different shows before. If you need to overcook it a bit to get the listing, for God's sake, make sure you get the bloody thing down. Yeah. Oh, there's the dog. Well done.
Yeah, sorry. We're live, people.
don't Absolutely fine. Let's get back. Yeah, we just can't bear to lose listings, can we? And if we just
Yeah,
set ourselves up and say, right, this is not, I think a lovely line that Tom Pannell says, I'm here to see if I'm for you, but also whether you're for me. Therefore you're balancing it out. And a great line. I don't know if you think what you think to that.
I love that line. But again, I think, and I go on about this all the time, but it is the construct of estate agency businesses. The vast majority of estate agency models are built on volume. And so it's actually not within their model or their interest to have honest conversations.
Let's just put some numbers on, throw enough of it. Some of it will stick to the wall and don't worry about the rest.
I think because we've got this broken down process, haven't we? So we've got people that go out there to list the properties, and then a plethora of staff in the office, and their job is just to ring, ring, ring. So you coerce people to go round and view properties that they can't afford on in their budget because you know what it should be on at, really. So you send it to the people that. So it just, for me, it's so backwards because actually, this sounds bad, but I wouldn't need to employ two negs if I listed stuff at the right price. So.
I'm in Grantham in Lincolnshire, and there's a chap called Tony Ruby who's with EXP. Other self-employed agents are available, obviously your own as well. I've met loads of your guys and girls; they're fantastic. But his exchange completion ratio to listing is late 80% for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
And when you consider that let's just have a quick look in the last year. And again, I'm not going to mention names here, ladies and gentlemen, but there are agents out there. One of the biggest corporate has an exchange ratio of 46 to 51%, depending on which brand you go with. The two big London agents will only get exchange on 1 in 4 of the properties they put onto the market, whilst the other two big London agents, they're exchanging on 54%.
It's mad because I just think what they're doing is not appreciating where we are as a society. We are now becoming more so a big group of people happy to pay a good fee for a brilliant outcome, a brilliant service, a brilliant experience. Was the market like that in the main 20 years ago? No, probably not. We had different values, but now we do value paying good money for something great. And so if people boxed clever, they don't need to be in a volume business to make really good money.
Not at all. You're so right. You're so right, and that's why. And again, we're not turning this into a self-employed estate agency, Tom. But
it fits my rhetoric so well, though, Chris.
The magic thing, I do. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are an estate agent watching this, then if you have fallen out of love with the estate agency, but you've got to have to fall in love with business generation because it's not going to fall into your lap.
Yeah.
If you're good on the sofa, you need to give it serious consideration. Okay. And there's lots of models out there. EXP's one, Steph's TA UK, the Agency UK. There's plenty of them out there. Avocado, that most of them are absolutely fantastic. The magic thing is that are you going to take responsibility? And for God's sake, don't regret what you didn't have. What someone trying to say is that you always regret what you don't do. And I don't want you to get to in your 60s where you're just a journeyman valuer or you're a branch manager. And I tell you here and now, most of the area managers and national directors, if you take them out for a beer, they're all miserable as sin. It's all politics. It's all backstabbing. So I do genuinely, I said about 5 or 6 years ago, I believe 30% of estate agents will be self-employed by the end of the late 2020s. Whether we get to 30, I don't know. But when you're considering, and I think this is important, ladies and gentlemen, there are 14,500 estate agency firms, and there are 1,000 self-employed estate agents. They're on their way, and this is a change that is changing, and it's up to you. If you don't, I'm not saying employed estate agency is bad. I'm not. Definitely not. But at the end of the day, if you feel you are lacking something, you need to give it serious consideration. Anyway, let's get back off the soapbox, Steph. We didn't think it was good, but again, you can see, ladies and gentlemen, that Steph and I, we get on like a house on fire, and we just turn into a soapbox-a-thon. So here we go, back to the sales. So this week we have sold 26,893 properties, which means that we are on a second, just get rid of that. Oh God, you know, I've got more windows open than when your mum tells you to open up the windows. Here we go. There we go. So year to date, we're on 580,000 uh, sales agreed, which is 10% exactly further on than 2023 and 7% further on than 17, 18, and 19 average. Interestingly, the average price of a property sale agreed is 375. Let's just remind ourselves what the average price of a property coming on the market is, 460. Now, again, ladies and gentlemen, that's not to say that everything that's come on at 460 has actually sold for that lower figure. Lower price properties have a higher propensity or chance to sell, which means that's going to drag the average down. It's the percentage difference that we have to worry about. Again, this just graph here shows that there. That's the gap you need to keep an eye on. It's at 22% at the moment, which is the wrong side of 20, in my humble opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, any thoughts on that?
It's good to see sales creeping up. I think we're still feeling the effects of Feb, March. I've been saying all year that we've got 8, 9 weeks to almost catch up on this year. And I believe put that with the election, we will have a longer selling season than naturally or normally we would find, which is good. And yeah, lower price properties, of course, have a higher propensity to sell, but I don't think we can miss that average in that quite clearly we're listing stuff here and we're selling stuff cheaper. Now that's fine if you're staying in the market, of course. So if you're a seller, you take a chip off your own, your agent helps you negotiate on the next one and you work it up, brilliant. But I just feel sorry for those people that are either exiting the market one way or the other, that they're not losing out, but psychologically we know what sellers think. I've lost out. Yeah, you never had that money in your bank, but that's not how they
Yeah,
feel.
I was on stage a year ago and I said, right, if you bought your house for 100, it went up to 250 and then it dropped to 200, how much money you've made? And everyone says, well, you've made 100 grand because it was 100, 250, now it's 200. And no, the British think you've lost 50. Yeah, because again, I think we forget, ladies and gentlemen, estate agents out there, is that we're dealing with emotional animals and you're dealing with their home and it's their biggest asset. And that's why everyone sees the brand new for sale board on their street. They go and have a look at it. And if everything's gone up by 10 grand, in their head, they've got 10 grand extra in their bank account. And when it gets dropped, they lose it. I know they never had it, but you stop thinking like estate agents and start thinking like human beings.
But this is it, right? We're so bad at getting business that comes back to us when they come to sell again. I tell you, that person that lost the 50 grand, that's all they're remembering once they've moved in. All I remember is I lost 50 grand, never going back to that estate agent again. So, your overvaluing to start with has such a knock-on effect, not just on the saleability of that listing, but on that business that comes back to you in future.
Bang on, bang on. You're so right. Right, let's move on to sell fall throughs. And you'll see here that the fall through rate, well, we'll do the fall through rate in a second, but the numbers was around the 5,000 mark at the start of the year. And it's been slowly going up. It's been hovering around that late 5,000s to early 6,000s. So again, this is the graph for all you doomongers out there, end of the world, or is it? Because I think this is important, is that the number of sales has gone up, as we know, and it's the percentage fall through rate that's more important. Just to give you an idea, this graph here, that's when we had the certain budget in late 22, it had no effect. Ignore the dips down, simply because Christmas, everything shuts down, so the numbers just fall through the roof. It's the percentage fall through rate. What is the percentage fall through rate? Total number of fall throughs that week from the sales pipeline as a percentage of the number of sales agreed that week. And again, it's been slightly going up, but again, let's just remind ourselves, this here was the Kwarteng budget. Ignore the Christmas 22 spike. Went down to the early 20s. Interest rates were rising in May and June last year, which took us up to 30%. Slight drift downs, up and down like we have at Christmas. We had a bit of a low, again, a little bit of a low drop there, but again, it's just hovering around that. Again, if she started to get up, so I mean, this week it's at 23.49, last week 22.5, 23 the week before, 22, 22, 22, 22. So, if you ask most estate agents, they'll say 1 in 3 sales fall through. The actual is 1 in 4. 24.28% is the long-term fall through rate of the UK. Interestingly, and again, I don't know, I'm a massive fan of them, and I mention them most weeks. Reservation agreements. I don't know if you use them at all in your agency, but I'm a huge fan of them. There are a number of, I'm not going to mention any suppliers out there, but honestly, you can get your fall through rates to single figures, can't you? Single digit percentages.
Yeah, I think reservation agreements are absolutely brilliant. I think anything that you can do though to look at your time to sell is important. We know that time kills deals, and so it's putting the deal together well. Doesn't have to be the first buyer or the highest buyer. It's the right buyer, the one that's going to be sticky. And I did make a flippant comment about not believing in sales progression on LinkedIn, which kind of blew up, which was interesting. It was all for the clickbait. Why people don't get that about me, I don't know.
It's
But
all
I think
about the clicks, isn't it?
all about the clicks. But really,
so well.
exactly.
I tell you what, put a right move pie chart one in. They love that.
Oh, then. But I think it's actually about thinking, what do we need to do from the under offer point to moving day to get people to moving day, and more about looking at it in a much bigger way. And I think that would keep some of these deals together. I reckon there's so many deals that fall apart that don't need to, and it's miseducation through the process.
It's the neg saying, I'll get round to that. The solicitor saw that. It's a few days at the start and the paperwork's not coming through. And then we all know what negs are like. They'll always leave sales progression and business generation. Oh, when I find time. And then, it's a day here, and it all adds up. And now all of a sudden we're at week 18. I mean, I've gone on record saying that, and I know the stats from the outsourced sales progression. You don't need to use these firms, ladies and gentlemen. You can use your own outsource. You can have your own sales progression unit. The ones that do outsource sales progression or dedicated, 11 or 12 weeks, and that's the whole chain. They're running the chain. They're basically doing the estate agent's job for them. So outsource it or get someone to do it. Oh, there's the dog
Again.
Oh, bless. There you go. There you go. We tell you it's never work with animals, they say, but I say yes. Good stuff. Right.
We're estate agents. We work with animals every day.
There you go. Right, then let's get back to the graphs. Okay. So net sales this week, we're on 20,575. Just going to give you an idea of where we are with that. There is the graph. The white line is this year. Again, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to this on the podcast, you can download these charts if you want to. And also, these charts are all available on YouTube. If you go to YouTube, look at the right, because you're watching this video on YouTube. If you scroll down to the bottom, you can download all these graphs, and you can use these on valuations on your iPads as a presentation, and you can use them internally. All I ask is you don't use them on social media because my daytime job is I'm a property economist, ghostwriter for estate agents, and some of these I have to hold back for the people that pay my wages. But I'm more than happy for you to use them in the house to show you know what you're doing. It's my gift to use in the industry. So it's not bad, actually, is it? I mean, come on. I mean, yes, the number of net sales is going to drift downwards. I mean, obviously, the yellow line here is 2020 when it all went crazy. But, we're doing all right. When you consider that the pink line is 2023, we are heads and shoulders above that. I mean, again, to give you an idea, in 2023, we were on 18,000 and just in 18,000, and this time we're on 20 and a half. It's not bad, is it?
Yeah, so I do think we will fare ever so slightly better, as I said earlier. I think we have some latency to catch up with from the beginning of the year. I think the election generally will have a positive effect. But as a business owner or as any estate agent, somebody thinking about what commission am I going to get paid before Christmas? If I'm self-employed, this is the last month or so to get stuff in my pipeline that I'm going to get paid out for Christmas. So be thinking about that. And then whilst you're thinking about that, use autumn to set up your 2025 fantastically. Take advantage of it, tie up the good deals, get the good buyers buying your houses, not other agent stock.
What? Estate agents have to think long term. Oh dear.
Shocking, isn't it?
Good stuff. Right, just to give you final figures with regard to the net sales, we're 11.3% further on than we were year to date in 2023. which again means that your sales, which means that, or ideally, you will earn 11.3% more in 2024 than what you would have earned in 2023. That we're 4.8% further on than the average of 17, 18, and 19. Just a couple of little graphs here, which just some of you like, which is the gross sales as a percentage of listings and the price changes of the percentage of listings. Again, just a little smorgasbord before we go to Amersham. This is the number of properties that are in estate agents' pipelines. And again, this is the end. The white lines are the 31st of May. So going into the 1st of June, 465,000 properties. I mean, and again, when we were a bit younger, you were turning over your pipeline 4 times a year. Now you can get it just under 3. You're doing well. You're doing well if you can get just under 3. So that is good, but it's not as good as it could be because of how long it takes to get properties through. Couple of other graphs showing you the proportion of between number of properties in sales pipelines versus number of properties that are for sale. And again, you can use these, ladies and gentlemen, on the valuation to prove that you know what you're talking about. We're talking about house prices, and again, something I'm very passionate about is the pound per square foot figures. Now, I know not a lot of people use the pound per square foot, but because we've got data from 20EA, what I've noticed is this, and again, my apologies to anyone that's watched this, but the bottom line is this. Let's ignore the red line. Well, you can't ignore it really because it's the pound per square foot at listings. And again, I'm a bit concerned that that's going a little bit towards 390. That's a bit too high. So that's your proof of your overvaluing because the gap's getting bigger. The magic thing is here is this. The pound per square foot, which is the orange line, will match the land registry in 5 or 6 months' time to an accuracy of around 92%, which means if you follow the pound per square foot at sale agreed, you will know what's going to happen to the land registry in 5 or 6 months' time with a very, very high level of reference. The greeny line is the exchange, which is the precursor to the land registry, which will show a couple of months later. That's the way it works. House prices are rising, ladies and gentlemen, 5.1% higher than they were in January. Okay, so I know that can change if the sales fall through and if something cataclysmic happens, but I'm predicting here and now the house prices in January or December will be 5 or 6% higher. So just watch this show. We can foretell the land registry. We are mind readers. Anyway, there you go. Couple of other graphs on rents there, which could be of interest to you if you want to have a look at them. Okay, right, that's the end of the graphs. Any thoughts before we go to the beautiful town of Amersham?
Get your stock price right. Get your sale agreeing process down to a T, and you'll have a happy Christmas.
Excellent, that's what we like. Anyway, so what we're going to do now is we are now going to go to Amersham. Ladies and gentlemen, we're using a piece of kit called 20EA. Well, that's the firm that makes it, and the bit of kit is called Insights. 20EA do have other things, so just check you do have Insights. The bit of kit, as I said, I've got the national one, but you can get it for the town. They have a freebie version, and you can then buy it for the town or the regions or the whole of the country. It is considered by those of us who are data geeks the gold standard. It is like Rightmove Plus on steroids with a few rockets attached. So what we're going to do now is let's go and have a look at the stats for Amersham, and we can analyze it and have a look. Okay, Steph, you should be able to see the 20EA Insights platform. Okay, now again, I will stress to you, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not being paid by them to use this. However, I am an ultimate fanboy, along with a couple of us in the industry, and I know that Steph is a bit of a fangirl of it as well. And this bit of kit proves that if you are doing the numbers you think you are, that you are a better estate agent. So what we're going to do is we're going to analyze Amersham. We're going to spend the next 20 minutes really deep diving and seeing who is the best player. Mainly estate agency, a little bit of lettings, and then we'll finish the show off with Steph will give us her thoughts. Okay. So for the purposes of this, we are looking at the postcodes of HP6 and HP7. If you look at Amersham, kind of split in half. HP6 is the north, if memory serves me well. HP7 is the south. Might be the way around, I forgot. And we've got some nice, beautiful little villages. It's classic commuter belt, gorgeous and lovely. And we can see that, ladies and gentlemen, by the simple fact is that there's the average price of a property that's come onto the market since January 2019, 769,000. So I'm getting a flavour here that this is posh, and we'll also look at the upper quartile as well, because there's some agents that do specialise in that. And you can see, you can break down here the graph here, which just shows you the new listings. But we'll look at the core market first and see how different agents compare. And again, Steph, as you know, you just jump in at any time if you spot something that interests you. Okay. I mean, firstly, the thing that screams at me is there's not actually that many listings in these postcodes. Normally that number is a lot higher. So whether people just don't move as much. So let's start off with Robson's. And the first thing that screams at me is that's pretty consistent, isn't it? It's not bad, is it? Yeah, well done, Robson. Yeah. I believe they're an independent agency, a number of offices. I've looked at their website, looks the part, feels the part. Yeah, I like that. Okay.
I love the fact they're an independent when they've clearly got some big hitters there in terms of their competition. And yeah, they seem to be doing a really solid job.
Indeed. Let's go and look at the Frost partnership. And it looks like they had a bumper. What would that be? There we go. So that was April 2020, which means we're in lockdown. So you're going to have these spikes. We often have those spikes in April where everyone was locked down, but some agents put some houses on the market. But ultimately, their trend there in terms of the market share is around that, I don't know, 10 or 11% mark. Again, there's no one so far in the top two that seems to be growing. They just seem to be all in their own lanes so far. Interestingly, the average price of a property they're putting on the market is 596,000. Let's just remind ourselves, 760. So therefore, it looks like the Frost partnership are going for the lower to middle market, whilst Robson's tend to be going for the middle market, or their core market is 750 to 1 million. Let's look at Frost partnership. Their core market, well, there's not much to call between the two. Interestingly, look at the difference, that Robson's, you've got to admit, a quarter of the market and the nearest competitors at 10. I'd love to know, that's huge difference, isn't it?
Steven it, but the one thing the Frost partnership will be doing is probably turning their pipeline ever so more quickly. So
potentially, well, we do actually have some stats on that to see how long each agent takes. So you set that one up really nicely for me to see how long each agent takes to get this, A, to find a buyer, and B, to get it through to sales and to exchange and completion. Let's go and look at Savills. So obviously they're upper quartile. As you know, I've got a real soft spot for the Savs. So you can see here that their average price is 1.184 million. And their market share is hovering around the 10%. But again, that's the whole market. We will go and look at the upper quartile to give them a fair playing field. So again, well done on Savills on that one. Let's go and look at John Nash. Again, they look like they're just lower to middle. Their price is 675, not as low as Frost partnership, but still they tend to be that sort of range. Let's go and look at the Hamptons boys and girls. Oh, hold on. So they seem to be hovering around that 6 or 7% mark. But again, everyone's in their lane, 968, which means they're dealing with more middle to middle upper, as opposed to Savills, which you look quite obviously upper. Let's go and look at Hunters, the franchise. Got a real soft spot for these guys. Looks like they've had a fantastic June. So well done there on that one so far. But again, their market share seems to be very similar around that 6 or 7% mark. Let's look at Gibbs Gillespie. So they were around 10 or 15%, and they've dropped down to about 2 or 3%. I think I just did look on the internet. I think they closed their brand office down a while back. I don't know when, but they did, and it's been worked out of Gerrard's Cross, I believe. So that obviously shows that if you do close your branch, not to say you do need a high street location, but if you did have a high street location, then obviously you're not going to be as prominent. You're not going to have the guys and girls in the town so much. And you can see that. I mean, I do know there's an agent, they call themselves independent, but they really are a small corporate. They closed a number of their branches, and again, you can see that in their figures. So it does make a difference. Let's go and look at Wilson Heel. and they're at 734. And again, they seem to be around that 5 or 6% mark. Again, staying in their lane. Let's go and look at Chancellors. Okay, they're around the 4% mark. Slight drifting off since. Let's go and look at Binks. Okay, again, we're dealing with smaller numbers here, so we're going to be a bit spiky here, but they seem to be doing all right. Let's go and look at Hadlands, 442. Oh, price 624. Hadlands, 442. So again, they tend to probably deal with the lower to middle market. Again, we'll just have a quick look at some of these. Bonhams, PB. Oh, why there's two Bonhams. I don't know why there's that. Might be two offices there. Fine & Country, 2 million.
Nice.
Okay, yeah. EXP. Oh, let's go look at Knight Frank. We shouldn't leave these guys out. Okay, EXP 660. Right. Okay, let's go and look at the upper quartile. See who the Bosch agents are. So I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's go 1 million up first, and just see who the main players are. Now that's interesting. Okay, let's just pull that off. Okay. Robson. Now, I've only ever seen this once, and that was in Exeter, where the #1 big player also was the king or queen of the posh agents.
This is like last time, and suddenly I got an estate agency I was a massive fan of, but Robson's, I mean, unless they do something absolutely dreadful on time to sell and time to find a buyer, etc., these are looking like a decent outfit.
Do you think they're going to get the Steph Walker Award, which again
Maybe.
is
I'm excited. I'm excited.
okay. This is a
They
new
just
award.
love seeing agents do bloody good jobs, though.
That's good stuff. And again, ladies and gentlemen, I think that is particularly. We'll turn that off. Let's just look at what's generally happened to stock levels in Amersham, and you can see here. We look at whole months. We don't look at part months. So again, this is important. Now, this is strange. I've not seen this before. So the average number of properties for sale in the two postcodes was 228, and the same month, because I like to compare apples with apples, was 249. In the vast majority of the UK, May 24 was on average 15 to 20% higher in stock than. So Amersham is doing something completely different. So again, I know we haven't got the time to dive into this because we haven't got the information. But that is particularly interesting that stock levels are, and you can see them here, are generally lower this year than last year. Interesting. Okay. Are we done on that? Should we go and have a look at let's have a look. Right then, here we go. So, pardon me. There's a lot of data in here, ladies and gentlemen. Steph, I'd like you to look at the fall throughs and price changes and report back to me in a second. And I think your fangirl status is probably still got. I'll go and order some Schwarzkopf crystals and get it glittered up for Robson's because it's looking good at the moment for Robson's. So I know we're all interested in market share, and that's the numbers in the last since November 21. And we're looking at sold submitted contracts, but it's this magical, these four charts hit, these four columns here, exchanged and withdrawn. Ladies and gentlemen, a property only leaves an estate agent's book if it exchanges or withdraws. I know if a sale falls through, it stays on your books. So therefore, in the last 2.5 years, for every 100 houses that Robson's have put on the market, they have exchanged contracts on 66.56% of properties, whilst they've withdrawn 33. The Frost Partnership, 55, Savills 56, Nash's 66, Hampton's 40, Hunter's 88. I mean, that is a fantastic number there. That's a big number. I've not seen levels of that for a long, Chancellor's at 44, Hadfield's at 72, well done. Bovington's at 16. So again, these are, smaller numbers, so they are going to screw the figures up slightly. Let's just move and just have a move that there. Again, Bovington's 10 are in Beaconsfield, if memory serves me well, and just cover the villages. So you are dealing with smaller numbers. And also, and I will, as a matter of courtesy, just do a price range. Higher price properties have a lower propensity to sell, which means if you're looking at the whole of market, it's going to screw the figures up. So just for the posh agents, I will just have a quick look at the upper quartile, just to give you a level playing field. So We've gone 15th of May, 23 to, so that's a year and a bit. So again, let's just have a quick look. Again, Robson's, they're not losing their badge, are they? That is really, really good. We've got some different numbers here. So let's just have a quick look at the price range, just to have just a check to, to give a level playing field. So we can see here that that the average for anything over £1 million, just put that in, there you go. Anything over £1 million in the last year and a month, then the exchange ratio is 53% and 46% have actually withdrawn. But there's some good numbers here. Again, I'm liking Robson's, and again, ladies and gentlemen, no one's paid me to do this. I do this as a hobby. Steph's here. She just loves stats, so she's here, and we're just showing the stats. But if I was Robson's, I'd be wanting to use a bit of kit like this and saying, here is proof. And we're not criticizing everyone else in this, ladies and gentlemen. And if you do have a query with the data and you're not sure, then reach out to 20EA on the Insights platform and say, where are you getting your data from? But honestly, their data sources, plenty of people have challenged it, and they are very, very, very good. Anything else before we move on? Oh, yeah, we're doing price
pair of hands across the board, aren't they?
You're a bit of a fangirl, I know you are. There we go. Right then, let's just have a quick. So in the last year and 1 year, 1 month, I mean, Robson's. I mean, we're going to look at now how close they get to their, they get to the original asking price in a second. But that's telling me that I reckon Robson's must be valuing really sharply, because they're not having to reduce their prices and they're selling the things with quite a low withdrawal rate. In the last year and a month, 44% of properties that come up the left agents' books remained unsold. Anything that screams at you?
I just think looks like that Hunters franchise do a really, really good job. So they're not listing as much in this area. Maybe they cover a few areas, I don't know. But look at their exchange and then their fall throughs. Bloody brilliant.
They
fall
are.
9%. Wow.
I mean, those are the sort of figures, ladies and gentlemen, that reservation agreements. So they might be using reservation agreements.
I'd imagine so.
If you watched earlier on and you didn't watch the first part of the show, reservation agreements are absolutely fantastic. There are 4 or 5 firms in the UK. They are a game changer. You will have you'll have single-digit fall-throughs, and which means you'll get paid more, which is the reason. We're not here for a charity here, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, let's move on and look at see how which agent overvalues and which doesn't. So what's happened here? This is the last 12 months. And basically the 20EA have looked at every single one of your listings and given it an automated valuation model figure. Or as I would call it, a ValPal figure. Other AVMs are available, but we know it's the who. I was saying to the ValPals, you're like the Hoovers of, everyone else calls it ValPals. Interestingly, I was talking to them, Steph, and they said the number of people that ring them up and say, I'm going to have to cancel my ValPal account, and they actually realise that they've got an account with someone else, and then they've been using
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get back to seriousness now, ladies and gentlemen. So Robson's 151 properties, they've overvalued by 0.9. The Frosts, well, that's really tight at 0.3. Let's just switch off. Have we got new homes on this? No, we haven't got new homes. Sometimes you can switch up. That does affect it slightly. Okay, so and John Nash 0.3. So the average overvalue is 0.68. Okay, which is really sharp. So well done, everyone, on this one. I know you've got some low numbers here. They're auction houses. Let's look. Price.
Yeah, what did you say the average in the UK is 1.271 current overvaluing?
Yeah.
They're half of that. Brilliant.
That's sharp. It shows a good market knowledge. And so let's just see, how much did you actually achieve from the original asking price? And you can see here, Robson's achieved 1.82% less than the original asking price. Frost's 2.52, Nash's at 3.95, Savills. Now again, Savills, when you're dealing with the posh stuff, the numbers, the AVMs are not as brilliant. So what I'm going to do, just for the benefit of this, I'm going to just give it a level playing field. I think that's only fair. So I'm going to take it up to 900. Okay, let's just have a look here. And there we go. So we're looking up to 900,000 here. And Robson's 1.6. Frostons are quite sharp, but again, they're lower end, so they're going to be a bit sharper. And then how much did you get off the original asking price? 3.3 for Robson's, 2.65 off John Nash, and 1.2 from John Nash and 1.76. So what does that mean? So this is everything up to 900. If every agent put on the same 900 grand house, what would each agent achieve for it? And you can see here, there's quite a range of numbers here.
I thought Robson's would be sharper than that. They've let me down a bit.
See, John Nash there and Hunters, they could say, look, that we can get you X number of £1,000 more than another estate agent in town. This proves it, because that's what this proves is this. The average estate agent for a £900,000 house will get on average 899, but you can see here, there's some differences here. And there's some absolutely mega numbers down here. But again, when you're dealing with auctions and big numbers, that is going to skew the average. So you have to take that with a slight pinch of salt. And any agent looking at this say, well, that's a crock of rubbish. Well, I think if I was Hunters, I'd be saying, no, I'd be running with this like a beacon. And Robson's, okay, it's not bad.
I think if Hunters only operate in the same postcodes, so if we were talking true, apples and apples, I'd want to own Robson's, but I'd want to sell my house with the Hunters office.
If price was, if
we were literally on the money on everything, yeah.
You see, here, this is interesting. Now we're looking at all price ranges, and not just up to £900,000. Robson's are the daddies, because look, they're 4,400 over the average. So you can mess about with this. It's like a Rightmove pie chart, Rightmove map, where you can do what you like, and you can mix it as long as you're honest and tell people what the numbers are. But for the whole of market, Robson's get on average £4,494 above than the national average. So than the Amersham average. So again, the swings and roundabouts here. It's like anything, ladies and gentlemen. It's how you read the data and how you put it across to the vendors. Any thoughts on this before we go and look at see how quickly these agents sell houses?
Just a really interesting market.
It is, isn't it? Okay, so Robson's take on average 46 days to find a buyer and 123 days to get it from sale agreed to completion. The average number of property it takes is 72 days from new instruction to sale agreed. So you can see here, Savills there at 139 days. They're selling posh houses. Posh houses take longer to sell. Okay. But let's just remind ourselves who the big daddy agent, Robson's, Frosts, and John Nash. Let's go. Robson's, there's John Nash, 75 days, 208 days. So again, Robson's in all, on average of 169 days from new instruction to completion, whilst Frost Partnership, 208. So that's 50 days. That's basically a couple of months, just under 2 months difference. So again, if I was Robson's, I'd be using that. But Wilson Heel, well done there. You're the quickest estate agent in the top 10. Interesting, isn't it? If we 72 days on average, let's just see what's that's June 23 to June 24. So just a quick look at what it took. 53 days. So that's June 22 to June 23. So that's how long it takes difference to sell a house. Okay, I'm going to go on to lettings unless there's something you want to say. Are you still?
I was going to say, I wonder even if, as an estate agency owner, if you're self-employed, whoever you are, even if you don't come in to get this full information, know these statistics within your own business, understand how long it takes you on average to sell a house overall in different price points. Because you're also going to be able to not just outside of your own anecdotal feelings, but know what your time is worth. And so if you do get that one that wants to come on a little bit over, but you agree a good fee and, actually within average, on average, I'm going to sell it in X amount of time, you can, from a pounds and pence position, decide whether that's the right listing for you or not.
Bang on, bang on. Okay, well, there's always going to be a fly in the ointment. And it looks like Robson's don't do lettings, mate. Again, not a lot of rental listings here. And that, only 2,666 in the last 5 years. Let's go look at the
I'm
last
also
year.
surprised at how low the average price is, given on how high the average price is for sale. So we're just not, you just get the feeling that we're not really a town with lots of lettings happening, you would
No,
imagine.
no, you're right. Okay, here we go then. 455. So that's that is, so these are the whole postcodes as well. We're not just talking Amersham here, we're talking HP5, HP6 and 7, 455. So that is on average around 50 a month, excluding your summer and your Christmas. That's not a lot. Although interestingly, the average rent in the last year, 2,052, and the average rent 1,000. So it's gone up from 1,484 5 years ago. So that's a big old jump. There you go.
I mean, if I was Robson's, even if I didn't want to in-house my own property management, I'd find a brilliant outsourcing company and start and do some lettings.
Okay, so let's now. Okay, let's go open rent.
Mm.
Now I'll just pull that back because I think this is fascinating. We'll just do that. Look at that. Open rent in 2019 had 4 or 5% of the market, and now she's hovering around 15 or 16%. That matches the UK. Ladies and gentlemen, if you actually look at the stats, the number of landlords, the number of rental properties is still growing. The number of landlords selling up has grown by, that's gone up by 43% before pre-COVID, and we know that through the capital gains tax receipts. We also know the number of landlords buying through the stamp duty levels, and again, that's down, but it's only down 20%. As you could say, well, if one's up 20 and one's down 20 and one's up 43, then no, we're talking of different numbers.
Yeah.
The bottom line is the number of rental properties is still growing. It's not growing as much as it was. This is your biggest threat, letting agents. Landlords leaving you and going to open rent. And I know you're going to turn around and say, well, some of those are other letting agents. Well, it's not the big boys and girls in your town, so I don't know who they are. So just bear that in mind. Unless Robson's put them through open rent. But I don't think Robson's are that sort of agent looking at their website. Okay, so let's just move that back. Here we go. So let's go. So the Frost Partnership, let's have a look at. So again, this is just the number of new properties coming on. It doesn't mean new landlords, new stock, but it gives us a flavour of where it is. Okay, Hadlands, looks like they're really strong in lettings compared to their sales. John Nash, Binks. Let's look at Savills. I bet their average rent 2.4. There we go. Gibbs Gillespie, JMP, Chancellors. We'll just do them. We'll just have a quick look at these because some of these people might be wanting to watch this. Well, it looks like the tentacles of Romans are making their way up to this part of the world. That's what we like to see. Two Bonhams. Don't know why there's two Bonhams, whether there's Ken, if you wanted to amalgamate that, you could contact them and they'll put the two together if they are the one and the same firm. Often that happens, ladies and gentlemen, if you've got two firms and they think you're two firms, they normally put them together, but you never, if that's the case, we'll just have a quick look. There we go. Not much happening there. So we'll leave it at that. Okay. Right then. We're on the hour. So what's your final thoughts, Steph?
I would be, if I was Robson's, definitely looking at my lettings and opening up a new division. No, I think we are steady. It's what we probably expected. I do think we're going to see more properties come to the market. I do think we're going to see more buyer activity. I do think that can drive up or inflate prices ever so much. So just be really, really clever on what your strategy is as a business would be my advice for any estate agent. Don't take everything. You don't need to operate in the volume space, genuinely. But yeah, if you don't know your stats, even if you don't buy the technology, have a little look at that. Some really strong arguments, I think, for lots of agents there to go and win the right business.
Indeed. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to say thank you for watching. If you are an estate or letting agent in Amersham or anywhere in the UK, and you're needing some help and guidance on attracting landlords and vendors to your estate agency, then the services I provide as a property economist is I ghostwrite articles and create content on your local property market to attract people to you. And in a survey of 10,000 vendors, which took place last year with the Property Academy, 3,600 vendors said they chose their estate agent based on the agent's local property market knowledge. and everyone is obsessed about the value of their own home. So if you're looking for a service to guide and support you to attract more landlords and vendors, if you're Robson's and you want more landlords, got to be a bit cheeky here, or any of the other agents that are seeing Robson's on a pedestal and thinking, I'd like to do that, then feel free to pick up the phone to me. My name is Chris Watkin on 07950 147 572, and I can help coach and guide you and provide you content that will attract agents to you. But there you go, that's the end of the little advertorial. Steph, thank you very much for your time today. You've been exceptional as always, and you will be getting an invite on the text message back later in the summer. You've been exceptional. I wouldn't expect anything less. But more importantly, thank you for watching this show. We've been doing it now for 18 months. Really enjoy it. It does take me about 5 hours to prepare it, edit it, get it out, and everything else like that. But I know an awful lot of you'd like watching it, and it does help you. Remember, all the graphs are available to download for personal use and valuations, but not, as I said, on social media. Got to hold something back for my paying clients. So thank you for your time today. And Steph, I'll see you in a few months' time. But I'll hopefully see you at week 25 next Friday. Thank you very much.